Kia ora, no mai hara mai ki All on the Table, a podcast created to create a safe space to discuss a whole bunch of topics that are important to us and our whānau. In our first season, we set out to explore learning and education. We speak with parents about their experiences with hybrid learning during COVID for our children, schools, and whānau. Unpacking the highs and lows, we hope this koorero not only helps our parents think more about the future of their child's learning, but also serves as inspiration for the future of learning in our education system. Let us put everything all on the table.
Welcome to our podcast here, whānau. My name is Q and we are All on the Table, man, the All on the Table podcast. And we're here today, some lovely whānau here, koorero tahi, our beautiful wahine, here to have a bit of a koorero with us today about something pretty cool, learning and education for our young people, chacho. But yeah, man, I think that's us. How you feeling?
All right. Yeah.
We were having a good chat before. It feels like once the recording is up.
You know what?
Yeah. Nah, it's all good, man. I guess just to start us off, whānau, before we actually get into some of our kore today, just want to see if you can do a quick intro, man. Can you give us your name, number of young people you have, and maybe a little bit about where you grew up? Up to you, who wants to start.
Me? You can go first. My name's Selena Dixon. I have 5 children, 1.5 grandchildren, and the age ranges are between 26 through to 7. And I live in the Mangere area.
1.5, eh?
One in the oven.
Away.
I love it.
I'm Kristie Whaanau. I am a wife and a mum of 3. I have an 11-year-old son and an 8-year-old and 3-year-old daughter, and I grew up in Manadua and I still live there. So, yeah.
Manadua, it's cool world from the south. Just FYI,
Absolutely.
I'm from Mātauranga. I was brought up in Manukau as well, just so you know a little bit more about me. Standing, you sharing, I don't share. But just it's a pleasure to have you here today, and I guess as part of our koorero today, sort of like doing a bit of a deep dive into learning and education. But today, I'd really love to have a bit of a koorero with yous about I guess engagement in schools for us as parents, say, and sort of the first question I sort of want to pose to you is I just want to learn a little bit more about schooling for you as young people, man. You know, what was it like, and what was the engagement from your fellas whānau like back in the days, eh? You know, yeah. So
I really enjoyed my primary school, intermediate years, but once I got to high school, it wasn't really my thing. I think because I knew what I wanted to do with my life, I just was like, let's just get this out of the way so I can carry on, you know. But my mum was always very involved in my schooling. She was, she never had to work late hours or anything like that, so she was always the one on school trips and parent interviews and helping and fundraising and all that sort of stuff. So I have tried to carry that on myself with my own kids.
Yeah.
I guess as for myself, I did have a variety of different primary schools. My parents worked extremely long hours. So I was over at my nana's, so it made sense to move me up from Manadua over to GI, to Glenares, and probably start school out there in the earlier stages until their job situations changed a wee bit and they could pretty much take me home and be there for normal school hours. And that's when I moved back into the Manadua region and went to intermediate there and then the beginning of high school. So everything was great. Had the most fantastic intermediate teacher. She was such an inspiration. So I really didn't want to go to school. Kind of over being, transferred from one school to the next. And she took the time. She was one of the very first teachers to take the time to acknowledge where I was and what I needed. I did have dyslexia, read backwards. So the only 2 letters that worked for me was an A and an I. Everything else was kind of not so great.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't read, so why bother? And same thing with numbers. And she picked up really quickly.
Yeah.
So between her and a couple of other teachers as well, they came along, really, really helped out, helped realign where where I should be.
Yeah.
And from that, went over to high school and I was in the accelerate classes. But even that, it was still a bit boring. Was probably because I wanted to learn faster. Some of these topics I wanted to learn I wanted to be a veterinarian. So, a lot of the topics were fantastic. Really hated English. That wasn't really my thing.
I wasn't the best either, to be honest.
No, it's like, I really don't want to, because it's just like, here we go again. I've got to read a book. Get tired, can't read it. Resort back to dyslexia. It's like, this is terrible. But after that, got myself pregnant. No one else to blame here. And had to leave and went over to the correspondence school, and wow, that's a fantastic school. I don't know if it's
the biggest school in New Zealand.
Is it? Wasn't so big in the 1990s.
Yeah.
A little bit older than 18 these days.
Or one of the biggest, I should say. I know there's thousands.
Seriously, I'm glad to hear that, because they really are fabulous. It's like, you've got this new mum, this teenage mum, and then you've got schoolwork to catch up on. And I finished roughly in June and had 4 months to catch up with to try and do School C. For these new parents, School C is not around these days, it's the NCEA. And had catch up, so it took 4 months. But they sent out booklets where you could learn or take your time, speed up, whatever, to get through that topic, that subject. So you can really fast track. So I was lucky enough to get through that, get to exam times, and my teachers have a problem, pick up the phone, call them, say, I'm on lesson, whatever, number, whatever. And they knew exactly where I was. So, just like we were talking before about science experiments, they sent out all my lab stuff. And, you turn the pool table into a lab and do your science experiments there. It was awesome. It's so much faster. And at the end of the day, apart from having that wraparound support from these teachers, they don't have to, because they could just ignore the phone call. They really did. And I'd pick up, I'd have my son on my hip on one side and the phone on the other. And this is before mobiles. So this is
before vibrant and whatnot.
And it's like, pick up the phone with that nice long cord that's connected to that phone that you can't move very far, and just have that quick conversation on what it is I was stuck on. And they'd take the time, would call me back, and we'd go through it. And my teachers flew up when it came to exam time.
It's crazy, man.
I was seriously, I wasn't expecting that. So instead of, because they knew full well, I just had my son. So he was born November 3rd. My first exam was November the 11th. So we got this fresh, brand new, spanking little newborn down like on the floor next to me in a bassinet, and my teacher.
A young person.
Yeah, exactly. I just turned 16, and my teacher is sitting across from me at the table, and she's got the big old stamp clocks to start stop. So it's a 3-hour exam. She said I can take as much time as it took, as long as I got it done in 3 hours per that clock. So we'd stop, he'd start to grizzle, pick up, I'd feed him right in front of him because he's breastfed, feed him right in front of her, and then walk away. She'd be right behind me to go and change him, put him back in his bassinet, and then carry on with work. Stop, have something to eat so I can feel for this little guy. And sometimes it took up to 8 hours. But amazing teachers, they took their time. They flew up to see me. And thanks to them, I passed. Because of that.
The extra going over, like, within 1,000%.
Man. Absolutely.
Did they reach out to your parents? How were your parents involved with all of the correspondence? Or was it, because I remember my time in correspondence, and it was very, like, self-directed, to be honest. I had, like, some wraparound support, Whaanau, and other teachers that I knew. But what was the like sort of connection between your whānau there? Was there much communication, and how did they sort of support?
Well, my parents had just split up. Like, they'd been split up for about 7 months. So trying to get hold of my mum, because now my mum's the main provider for me and now this little guy. So she was at work probably up to about 20 hours at one stage per day, with a day off on the weekend. So there wasn't much contact with mum. It was really just straight to me to, take that responsibility. With the correspondence school, they actually put you through a pregnancy and first stages of life as a full course that you have to do as being part of a new parent. So that's what they get you to do, and you actually understand that they're going to call you, and it's about you, and you take responsibility for not just this fight, but for your schooling too. They just left you alone now because they knew what our situation was. So my mum, she did a really good job. She did what she could, and she earned quite a bit of money. So it's not like we were in housing projects or at all, but she needed to work in order to provide. Absolutely. Yeah. So Dad just stepped out, just literally stepped out, and that was probably the last times I saw him. So my mum, big ups to her for being there. But as for these teachers, straight to me.
That's cool, man. I mean, it must have been even just cool for your mum to be able to like commit and just know that, mahi doing, like, I know what it's like to be a parent. I don't have older kids. I've got a 3-year-old, but I think I can sort of relate. But and I run a business, so I definitely know what it's like to have commitment to the mahi, to make sure the breed's coming, to make sure our young people, my child, can be able to thrive and survive.
Absolutely. You've got to provide.
One thing I want to touch on, you mentioned, because just listening to you about the engagement of your whānau in the school in your past, was like you mentioned, like a really cool engagement for your whānau, and I imagine like a lot of that was probably just whānau being proactive about doing that. I imagine for the most case that's it, but was there anything specifically, or do you think there was anything specifically that schools did to encourage back then anyway?
I don't know if I remember what the schools did, but my mum was the kind of parent that was down there to pick us up. She'd walk to the classroom together. She'd talk to our teachers. So she kind of knew what was going on from her reaching out to them. I don't know if I was old enough to remember how they were. I mean, it's in Newsitters home. I was the oldest, so I had to bring all the papers home, Whereas nowadays they have apps.
True.
I'm always on the ball with what's going on because everything's run through an app or a website or stuff like that. But my mum was definitely proactive herself in trying to figure out what needed to be done. Who needed a sports uniform when we were going to swimming sports, running down there with the forgotten lunch.
Those
whatever.
Yeah,
that was probably all on my mum. Reaching out.
Man, that's it's pretty cool to hear. So we, I guess there are a lot of whānau out there that don't have that type of support. I guess when thinking about like our young people now, like I would say like we've had great experiences, but I think our young people right now in this day and age, with the technology and everything, like the support and engagement that we have as parents, and the difference, like you were saying, apps. Wow, look at that.
I know, right?
Like that's there's so much access right there now. I guess what I wanted to ask was like thinking about you and your engagement with your child's school right now. How does that compare to your experience?
I think I'm probably not as onto it as my mum. Like I am not the mum walking into the school gates every day. I'm at work and I'm rushing down there, and I've got one at intermediate who buses home, so I'm not in the school every day. My daughter's at primary and my youngest is at daycare. They're right next door to each other, so I run into the daycare and then my daughter walks down to meet me. So I'm not talking to teachers every day and things like that. But yeah, with the technology, any notices that come home are all through an app. I get a notification. I know what's going on. The kids, they all know what's going on, especially when it's the cool stuff. They do lots of like family events. So we just had a Twilight Festival at the primary school. We've got a whānau night at the intermediate next week. That kind of stuff. So there's lots of reaching out.
Like the school, like just constantly.
And when they need volunteers, like I'm always keen to
if you can put it,
especially if it's the cool one.
To be honest, I can't wait till my little one's like 5 or 6. I want to go on a school trip.
Oh, they do good ones at daycare.
Oh, do they? Oh, man, why haven't I had one yet?
James can do.
How about you? How would you compare it to?
It's our school's fantastic, especially our primary school. So that's where it pretty much starts. Well, no, that's a lie. We back it up. So my little ones, they went to 2 different preschools. we moved one out closer to the feed-in school, which is where our second eldest went to. So we were like, we'll just keep everyone around the same. So we had the feeder school in, and they do some mega trips, by the way, just saying.
Is it the feeder school to the primary?
Yeah. So we kind of knew who was going to which school in the area. This primary school every so often walks up the mountain. They take these kids and they trek up there. You do get to go along, just saying, just selling it. But, so, they're really, really interactive, and you kind of have that feed into your primary school.
Yeah.
In the preschools, they still roll in and turn up when they're needed for support in the primary school section. So, say, for example, there's support needed for, field trips or whatever.
Yeah.
Those parents, because they are parents, and some of the workers from the kindy do come down to help, and the same vice versa. So it's quite cool having that connection between the two. And then from off that, you've got your high school, so over in Onehunga. But primary school wise, they're so good.
Yeah.
The one that my kids go to, big ups to them. So because of what I've seen with them, they're in the city, but they have they're located close to a beach. So these kids get to, in the warmer weather, go down, kick the shoes off, and just, get in there, muck it out. So I go down and help pick up some of the, rubbish and stuff around there, take it back, get rid of it, trying to teach these kids how to take care of the land as well. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, absolutely. And so I really love that. But as for engagement with the school, for me, I joined the PTA for that whole reason, because what I could see was, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm the one of the chair people for our PTA, and we do the same. We just had a disco last night, a neon disco. Fantastic. Like, somewhere around a couple hundred people rolled in and rolled out. But we support school, and I absolutely love this school. Our kids love, just thrive there. And interactions with their teachers, I'm finger on the pulse with that. So
super intentional.
Absolutely. So it's like, I have these cell phone numbers. So anything, they try and step out of line. So we're talking like a year 4, and the youngest are twins, so they're year 2s. It's like, no, don't step out of line. I have your teacher's cell phone number, speed dial anytime I like. Thank you very much. And the principal and the deputy principal. So don't try and pull these stunts. Don't try and say to me, I've got a school, tell me I don't want to go to school. You're going. Or pull out cell phone. Which teacher should I be calling right now? Just to explain that you're not going to school. Go to school. But they're just interactive. Like, they'll turn around, call me straight away and go, hey, look. So I've got 2 different numbers. It's the one from the secretary, the one at office. That's the one that's scary, because that something's happened. And then there's one from the deputy principal, which cool, I can answer that, because it's going to be probably a PTA question, or it's a really light-hearted question. But they're the to and from, it's really open. The dialogue's open, and am I a walk-in parent? I'm going to say 50-50. So I try and split my hours. I start at 4:30 in the morning, finish at 7, get the kids ready, then restart at 9:30 at home or at work, and finish at 2:30. And between me and my husband, one of us goes and picks the kids up. We may or may not be able to get there and walk in. And if we do, it's cool to walk through and you say hi to the previous teachers and stuff. Apart from that, I could be one of those parents out on the side streets, waiting for the next car spots, because they always make their streets too small. It's like you can't fit 2 cars.
New developments.
Yeah, it's like, there's a car on each side, and then you've got this one-way traffic, and everyone loses their cool over it. But I'm usually down around the corner staring at time going, okay, I told these kids to walk here, they're not there. But, so, the school's was good.
Yeah. Seems like definitely, like, because I imagine your kids must be thriving in that type of in that setting. Hey man, but it helps, man. Every little Oh, kind of.
We've got the younger two. They're in speech therapy at the moment. So they, with them being twins, they get born with them, but they're identical. So they get born a little bit earlier. Their jaw line doesn't really assist when you're talking at S's and Z's, and so they do have a bit of a speech impediment. But thanks school for picking it up and telling us.
Yeah.
And they were straight up and said, look, the waiting list is far too long. So you're probably going to have to look at going private, or you won't get the assistance. So, yeah, here's some extra overtime hours to pay for some speech therapy for not one but two. But yeah, it's the school picked it up.
That's good, eh?
Yeah. So
some of that goes missed.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
To be honest.
Yep, it really does. The school picks it really quickly, but they're private, so no one knows. So they'll come along and pull each other aside and just say, hey, look, out of your 4 kids that have been here, these 2 have got probably a bit of speech problems, and this started back in year 0, and we'll just watch it for a couple of years. I'm not the only parent, and quite freely will admit it's something kind of nail as soon as you can. But so you've got some good days and not some good days. So I'd say that they're doing okay. They're not top of the line children. They're exactly where they should be being kids.
I mean, it's what we define as success.
Exactly. Yep. They're trying their hardest.
Yeah. It's funny, just so sort of slide another question, like, so we sort of know what our engagement was with our whānau back in the days, us as parents. Now, one real place that I imagine, one place that I imagine I want to reflect on that may have even have another whole sort of comparison level to it all is reflecting on COVID, reflecting on that time when our children had to be at home. I imagine a lot of these stories that you just shared with us now, but I'd love to hear a little bit, and just a very short little bit about what was engagement like for you as parents during that time of COVID, and you can reflect on either lockdown, see how it goes.
I found lockdown very challenging, and so working for myself and being a hairdresser, my job just didn't exist during COVID. If I don't have clients, I don't have a job. So, that was definitely a negative, but also a positive because I was able to focus all my energy on my kids and be home for them. I know I had lots of friends that had jobs they could work online, so they were working full time, and their kids were just kind of left to just do what they could because their parents still had to bring the money in. They didn't work, they didn't get paid. Whereas, yes, I wasn't able to work. I'm lucky my hubby was still able to work as an essential worker, and he went to work. In the first lockdown, he actually only had to work 1 day a week, but in the second lockdown, he was able to work full time. I was able to just get on top of them.
Get on top of them,
make sure they were doing what they were meant to be doing. Trying to make it fun for them, trying to get them out of the house. Fresh air, get them active.
What was it like, the engagement from the school to you specifically?
They were really good. I mean, my kids were BYOD kids anyway, so they were doing most of their schooling on iPads. I wasn't sure about that when it first was introduced to me when my son was in year 4. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Year 4,
I was a kid that grew up with pens and paper, and we have an overhead projector, and we didn't have computers in every classroom. We had a technology block.
Projector. Sorry,
that shows my age, doesn't it?
No, I remember.
But that was how we learned. So when they said to me, "Hey, your year 4 kid is now going to do their schooling on an iPad," I was like, I don't know if I like that. I want him to read. I want him to write. And then someone actually said to me, she was a principal of a primary school, a client of mine, and she said to me, "That's not how the world is now, Kristie. You have to roll with it. This is how our future kids are learning. And if you don't get on board and you don't be okay with this, they're going to be held back."
Wow.
So that was my slip in the face. So get over yourself. Pen and paper's out, iPads are in.
That's it.
So, I mean, them already being on that device, I came home with them every day, anyway. So that night when we got that message, your kids are not going to school tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was a Tuesday night that like cemented in my brain. And I think that week they were just left to chill, and then it was like, as of next Monday, we're going to be doing it online and we're going to make this work.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So yeah, I think we're very lucky that it was set up already.
Yeah. You were ready to go. Like,
if I look back when I was at school, if a lockdown happened, what would we have done?
Yeah, that's
we didn't have stuff like that at home.
No, get outside and play on your bike and just maybe look over at the neighbour over or something.
Yeah.
Or send some worksheets home, or
that's
I don't even know if they would have done that.
No,
to be honest,
who knows?
So, paper was vital.
Yeah.
To schools back then, right?
Yeah. Man, how was your time, like engagement with the school during COVID, man?
Well, it really sucked up print for us in the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Trying to work.
Yeah.
Wasn't so cool. Our school, we already had our year 3. He was already half online, paper and pen kind of thing. The girls, well, they hadn't even started school, so they kind of got knocked back and didn't get to start until November. So they got 2 weeks at school and then it's done. School's finished. As for our year 3, he came home with just a login. So if you didn't have a device, you're kind of out of whack for that stage. Second COVID came along. Let's back up. So that first COVID, I tried my best to be on point. This is school time. This is what you do during school. This is after school. Let's go on bike ride. And it was very regimental. Second COVID, I just laxed right off. Went, oh my gosh, I can't keep up with this. This is like added pressure, man. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And at that stage, the school was really onto it. They sent home worksheets. So if you couldn't do it online, because at that stage the girls had started school. Second lockdown, here we go again. And so we needed 2 devices over 3 kids. Couldn't be done. So one was always doing a worksheet for the year, and then we'd just switch them around. But engagement from school's fantastic. So we had Seesaw, and we get notifications.
Was it Seesaw?
Seesaw. It's like an internal app, the school, with everyone that's connected, so they can pick which year they want to do or reach out to. And it literally pops in to say, hey, look, to your email address that you sign up with in the beginning of school, you've got a couple of years to go. So you hand over your details and say, here's my email address, my phone number, and they send you an email saying, hey, look, there's a new Seesaw app available. Sorry, a new Seesaw edition in your app. So they'll tell you which child it's for. So you jump into that and you can see what their next work is like. Straight away they see, look, we realise families are trying to do their best. So do what you can, even if it's just one thing to keep your child engaged. But mostly get your kids outside. Get them out again because they've been just cooped up and locked up. So, and then
was the school saying that to you?
Yes. Yeah,
that's interesting.
They're like, look, you need to make sure that mentally your children are okay. These kids are locked up. And if you can, do the work. If you can't, don't stress. You're trying to get through life. So, big ups to the school with take your time, enjoy your family, and just try and help them support through, because this is stressful for them too, not just you. Don't forget that. So,
That's great, man. So it's nice that, because I know a couple of schools that, here's all of the work. I managed to get through all of the updates and that sort of stuff, get the mahi done, but I think it took some schools a while to actually just reflect on it and say, what about the wairua of our young people? How can we make sure they all feel good, So it's nice to hear, that they kept through.
Absolutely, because first one, that everyone's scrambling. we all forget that this is not new for us. This was
there. That was new. Sorry,
So it's like, this is new. This isn't normal. So what do we do? And everyone's like, every one of us were like, what do we do? Okay, all right. Okay, we can't do this now. But they got it sorted in the second lockdown.
Definitely. Cool. Hey, man, I'm sure we could go on for ages, but we actually run out of time. But
No.
But it's been cool to be able to hear, I guess, some of like your stories, your pūrākau about how engagement has changed, from back. It's changed, but maybe it's the same as well. But back in the day to now with your young people, but also reflecting on that COVID period, because it was very testing time. But I think has influenced a lot of what we do now, and to some extent, really helped us understand what could work, what can't. Because I think like moving into the future, no doubt, like engagement with the school is a key part of this, but there's so many different things and ways that we can do as parents, but also what the school can do for us as well, eh?
Yeah.
So it's great to hear your stories to help unpack what some of those like little things may be. And I guess before we do wrap it up, Whaanau, what I want to ask you is, I wanted to get you to share, I guess, one little bit of advice for other parents out there that might be potentially struggling with engagement or maybe think they don't engage enough. Like, do you have any advice for them? To give things a go and whatnot.
Definitely get the school app.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it just like if your school's onto it with keeping you up to date with notices and talking about attendance and just being open and honest and talking to your kids.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing. Talk to them about what's going on with them.
I agree. Just to add to what you've just mentioned, I reckon if you have a PTA, go and talk to them because they are parents, just like you, going through the same struggles. And you're sitting in a room, when you have your PTA meetings, you're sitting in a room, and I guarantee that there are parents that'll just like flow and they'll just express because they're comfortable in the space with you. You know, they know you, they've got to know your children. So you can have that real conversation that you might not feel comfortable having with the school because maybe you feel stupid.
Yeah.
You know, all of us have moments like that. These are a bunch of people. You know, they're not just these people on the side that just, you know, do fun things. They're real parents with real life situations. Otherwise, if you've got that kind of relationship with your teacher, go in and talk to them. The best thing you can do for your kids and for you and for the future is to just be transparent. Just go and talk to somebody. Even when you're sitting in the playground, talk to the person next to you. And they can build those in-house relationships or just start talking.
Just start talking. Oh, man. Whaanau, thank you very much for joining us here today, man. Hopefully we get to catch up in the future. We'll have another chapter, and I promise I'll make a better cup of coffee next time. See you there. Kia ora, Whaanau.